Hello. Let me turn my volume up.
How are you doing?
I am doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. Honestly, I'm exhausted, but I'm blessed, highly favored.
You know what? I love that you kept it real with the exhaustion because I am having. It's been a hard week.
It's been a hard
It's
week.
been a hard week, and I was just telling somebody in a very human moment before. I was like, "Look, I'm in tears all this whole day. I've been in tears, and I'm gonna pull it together, and I'm gonna get on this live. I'm gonna pull it
Together. Yes.
And I knew I was going to be talking to you, and
Yes.
that made me extra excited too.
Same. Very excited to see you again,
Yes.
speak with you. But I feel you. The last week, the last 3 weeks, yeah, it's time to wind down.
Yes, I would like to just not. That's the whole sentence. I would like to just not.
I would like to just not. And now
And
we can think.
And there it is. Good night, everybody. This has been Keisha and Asha. All right. Well, y'all, we just had a great opportunity to meet on a panel recently. So I've been anticipating this all week. Asha, for those who don't know, can you share what Surge Reproductive Justice does?
Yeah. So Surge Reproductive Justice is an organization that really centers reproductive justice and Black feminist theory as a framework for mobilizing communities towards participatory action research. Right now, I know I just threw a bunch of words, and it's like, okay, so what does that mean, right? So we're an organization of Black women, Black queer folks who consistently saw the need to create for us, by us solutions to systemic inequities, right? So, we go out, we have these experiences when we're dealing with systems, and we might be offered a program as recourse, right? We might be offered as some type of info session or some type of opportunity to be on an advisory board when we have a problem with systems and institutions. But what we've noticed is that those things don't actually create systemic change, right? They kind of just give the system more ammo to say, hey, we're doing the work to address this issue, but not actually have to change any of its foundational function, right? And so a big part of our work is saying, we want to bring our folks together to decide what is it that we need and how can we build it for ourselves. And if institutions want to be a part of that, how do we leverage that? But really getting clear that the things that we want, the things that we need for our community in order to be healthy, in order to be well, in order to disrupt, the rates of Black infant and maternal mortality, we're going to have to be the ones to build those things, right? And so that's a little bit roughly of what Surge does. We do it in a couple of different ways. But the biggest way that we do that is this idea called participatory action research, which is really just a short way of saying organizing,
Okay.
right? We collect our experiences and say that our experiences are more than enough data. We don't need like some scientists or research doing numbers on us in order to substantiate what we know that we've lived through.
Thank you for sharing that. Because I feel like a lot of people, maybe back in the days when Barack Obama was running for president, they heard the word community organizer and it just kind of like was some words. But what you just said about institutions we have in programs that from their perspective are things that they think the community needs, but they're not in the community. And actually just, I think I love what you were saying about, we know we're going to build what we need, and you institution can fund it, participate if you want to enable us further to do what is actually needed.
Exactly. I think I've definitely had experiences of my own, but also seen experience where we can kind of lose the pulse and institutions come in and say, hey, we want to support you and da 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 da. And then you look a couple months down the line and the institution's seeing the strategy and your whole mission and goal has gone out the window, right? And so
meanwhile,
it's really also
your face in the newsletter and on the website.
On a pamphlet.
We did it!
Right, we did it, Joe.
You ain't do nothing. I'm sorry.
But you get it.
I get it. Okay. Well, what about your role? Your role as the organizing director, what do you do?
As the organizing director, I'm still adjusting and to be very frank with it. As the organizing director, my primary responsibility is having, I would say, a more bird's eye view about how each of the campaign or organizing bodies are going to move to a place of deciding what our policies are going to be, right? And again, I have to constantly be like, you're just throwing out words. What does that mean?
I mean, like,
Right?
if I was talking to my grandma,
Right?
you know.
How would she exactly? So I struggle with that question only because I think sometimes people hear the director part and think it's supposed, there's a box around what a director is. And I could just tell you more simply about what organizing looks like at Surge. And so the way that Surge is kind of positioned is we have a policy side and we have what we would call a base building side. Now, base building is happening on both sides. And if you look at, you know, the scholarship and the anecdotes about what was happening, particularly during the civil rights movement, what you saw oftentimes was a base building movement, right? And a base building movement is a little bit different than maybe just a protest, right? A protest is where, folks get activated, folks are excited to do something, folks are excited to say something, but it's a little different than organizing, right? And I think about that women's march, quote unquote, right, with the pink pussy hats, and how you had exactly, right, you had hundreds and thousands of women, white women, come out with these, they had all the rah rah, but then it's like, what happened to all of that energy afterwards? Right? And so part of the role of an organizer is to be able to activate people, yes, but it's also to mobilize people. But then the organizing part is to say, okay, now we have we have these 5 people in the room. What are the resources that we have in this room, and how are we going to move them to get a sense of our own power? Right? How am I going to get clear about how I want to show up in the world that I want to create for myself and my family? I hate when that happens because my thumb is not up.
It's a little creepy. It's like,
right. And so as the organizing director, a big part of my responsibility is helping to mold and design and do some development of other organizers so that our community can get a sense of its own power, so that we can remember that our institutions need us a lot more than we need them.
Yeah, that's great. That's a big difference between organizing an event in a moment and actually organizing people for sustained action towards goals. Actually showing people where they can plug in to work, because we are needed in the solutions. Like, we can't just sit back and be like, when's the next march? And have like 5 people doing like the work in between big activations.
Absolutely.
Amen. All right. Well, I want to hear a little bit more from you about some of the things that the business that I get to see of yours on HeyBlackSeattle.com, because you have 2 things that I want to chat with you about. You have, first of all, a job opening. Can you tell us about this resource organizer you are hiring for?
Yeah. So just building off, what we were just talking about, another thing that, when one of the principles that we use in our organizing is this principle of learning from history. And also analyzing power. And, we talked about systems and how systems get involved. And one of the things that we see consistently is that, how do I say this, is that the work that an organization does is often decided by the funders, right? So whatever the funder wants is what the organization does, right? And we've seen that as a tool to really mess up our movements. And so part of our work is saying, how are we going to fund our own solutions, right? How are we going to organize and build a base of people who can help bring in resources, whether that's monetary resources, whether that's energy, whether that's time and capacity, to really support grassroots for us bio solutions, right? So this mobilizer, as resource organizer, is really a position designed to help build a base around fundraising, right? In a different way, and not just, hey, can you donate $5 a day? But it's really moving people to say that, hey, this is an investment, right? In my own liberation, and to help hold a strategy around what it means to build an economic base within an organization that's dedicated to reproductive justice, particularly for Black folks.
Got it. What kind of background would you like this person to have?
Ideally, we would like somebody who has some background in fundraising. We would like somebody who is BIPOC. But, we are looking to, for the bi part specifically, right? I have to be
Tips
honest with
coming.
you. I mean, we are on Hey Black Seattle. Right? Um, right. We are looking for BIPOC folks, so cutie BIPOC folks are more than welcome, and folks who have background in fundraising. But also, I think really we're looking for someone who has the potential capacity to build and develop a strategy and to organize. Right? Like you could raise as much money as you want, but if you don't know how to bring people into a room and keep people in a room, right,
Mm-hmm.
that's integral. So it's folks who are also really deep listeners. There's a lot of soft skills and hard skills that I think go into this position. um and yeah, but I think the big thing is someone who also is adapt and flexible in that kind of money space that can be uncomfortable for some of us.
Got it. Awesome. I hope it, if somebody is out there and this sounds like you, apply for this job
Come on,
with Surge. Okay.
please.
You were preaching about the funders deciding what to do. It's one of the reasons why
Mm,
things, I would say on the business side of Hey Black Seattle, move slower than I'm used to them moving when I was in the corporate world,
mm,
because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't want to take money from somebody who diverts the
yep,
purpose of this
yep,
work. And it takes a lot of like thought
yeah.
and strategy and planning to be like, where do we want to receive money from? Because where the money come from,
That's right.
people will try to change your priorities or
That,
influence your work.
that's right. That's right.
Mm,
Yeah,
but
and
I
it's true.
digress.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, I was just gonna say it can be tricky too for those of us in like kind of in the peopling world of things, because sometimes our livelihoods are connected to this, right? So it's not just one decision. It's a lot of different decisions. The hope is that we can make those decisions more collectively too, and be like, hey, collectively, we said we're not going for that. And I think that's another piece of this is how do we also use this to build our own narrative about where's our line in the sand on this collectively. So I hear you. I feel you.
yes. Oh, okay. Well, we didn't got the team building work piece out of the way. You have an
Yeah.
event coming up,
Yes.
holiday spirit and a little bit of education at the same
Just a
time.
little
Tell us
bit.
what's coming up on December 7th.
Yes, on December 7th, we have what's called a lunch and learn. And a lunch and learn, somebody always want to bother me when I'm having fun. Um, so a lunch and learn, I talked about the participatory action research and just what it means to gather data. And part of what gathering data, at least when we're talking about doing it in an anti-racist way, part of that is really looking at how is power showing up and where is our accountability when we're collecting people's stories. And a big thing pattern that we see with folks who collect data is that they take our stories, they take our data, and they never tell us what they've done with it, right? And so the lunch and learn.
Yeah, I hope y'all listening to what you just be casually putting people on to the situation, the truth of the situation.
Look,
Okay.
um, and they never tell us what they're going to do with it, right? And so a big part of our accountability to not just the community we serve and our constituency, but ourselves as people who are impacted by the issues that we're talking about is sharing that back, right? Like I say, okay, so we collected this. What have we done with this? How did we interpret it? How is this guiding our decision making? How is this guiding our strategy to get to a policy, right? And these lunch and learns are an opportunity for us to share back that information. This particular lunch and learn is a Black Santa event, and you are from a predominantly Black city, right? We have folks who are from Black cities know that we like to festivize, if that's a word, right? In the way
We
that
gonna
we
make it a word today.
right? We like to do us. And so one of the things that we saw is that, being in the Pacific Northwest, we don't have opportunities like that to gather around the holidays. And so it's kind of a feeding one bird or two birds with one seed situation, in which we'll have an opportunity.
Right, I'm writing that down because I've never liked the Stones. Why are we hitting birds?
Right?
Okay.
Why are we? Dr.
See.
Kimberly Richards put me onto that one. But yeah, the sorry, I got distracted. The
Yeah,
the lunch and learn. We're talking about Black Santa, and we also were, we got some feedback about, how do folks want this event to look. And folks are like, I love being in the holidays. I'm not really a Santa person. So it's like, okay, how do we create an opportunity for folks to just take pictures for their holiday pictures for their families in general? So it's an open opportunity for folks to get their pictures. We're going to be discussing not only the work that we've been doing, but also we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the realm of, Pan-Africanism and Kwanzaa, right? How are principles showing up in anti-racism? How do principles show up in our holiday spaces? And just an opportunity for folks to bring their children and do things with their children that's holiday themed and Black, right? So we're trying to do a little bit of everything, and I'm really excited to see how it pans out. I've been working on this background. I'm really excited for it. So yeah.
So this is happening on December 7th. Where is it happening?
This is at Rainier Beach Community Center, and it'll be from 12 to 2, 12 to 3.
Beautiful. I love this. Come on and festivize with us.
Come festivize.
Come festivize and learn. I love what you said about bringing the information back after we do this research, because otherwise it feels very extractive. Exactly. And it's just like, I just want to pull from the people. And you just like, okay, well, that happened. But this is a beautiful opportunity to learn the information. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us and just creating all that you're creating. I'm really, really grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. Truly, it will never get old for me to hear that it actually is appreciated, because again, especially in these early days where I can't pay not one bill, I'll pay Black Seattle. It is fueled by the desire for this to work out and for this to actually serve people and help people find the stuff that they need in this community. So I'm glad you exist for me to connect people to you. And I also just generally as a sister am glad that I got a chance to meet you in the course of doing this work. I met you once and I miss you already.
Yes. Yeah. I think about you sometimes. I'll be like, oh, Keisha. And it's just like a floating thought. I'm like, okay.
we about to fix this, because I just would love to see you after this. So that's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, all the people, get on over to the Rainier Beach Community Center on December 7th. Catch the vibes in person, learn about the work in person, apply for that job if that's you. And there it is. Thank you so much, Asha, for being here.
Thank you for having me.